Okay, so, on December 2nd, 2020, and I know that date to be factual because I made a lengthy Facebook post about the very topic I am about to discuss, I was being pretty ADHD, as usual, about whatever the heck I like to search on the interwebs in that time. To give you an inkling of how my brain works when I'm in that mode, brace yourself, it's about to get confusing. Earlier that day, I was researching a story by Junji Ito about children who turn into ice cream and eat each other, in which, among other things, this happens. Don't ask. Which reminded me of an episode of the Showtime series, Masters of Horror, directed by Tom Holland of Fright Night and Child's Play fame, called We All Scream for Ice Cream, in which, among other things, this happens. Don't ask. Which then made me think of the 1998 film Small Soldiers, Don't Ask, which then reminded me of a short story by Stephen King called Battleground, which was about a hitman who gets held hostage in his penthouse apartment by toy soldiers after he assassinates their maker. It was adapted for animation in the Soviet Union in 1986, and that was cool, but it was much more notably adapted in 2006 as an episode of a series on TNT called Nightmares and Dreamscapes, which starred William Hurt and Bruce Spence. Highlights include... Yeah. Chaos. Anyway, a similar situation surrounding the circumstances of a soon-to-be-mentioned amazing discovery happened later on in that day. Don't ask me how I came to discover it. I honestly don't remember. Here's the line at the bottom. Adult Swim, a programming block on Cartoon Network, in case you don't watch television or, I don't know, been living under a rock since 2001, sometimes airs humorous station identification advertisements. Most station identification adverts are as simple as a 5 to 10 second advert saying, "You are watching this network," followed by the logo of said network that is being watched.
Ladies and gentlemen, rock and roll.
Adult Swim, they're a little different. Some of Adult Swim's station ID adverts are elaborate, some are very elaborate. This one that I'm about to mention? One of the very elaborate ones. The advertisement was this: a stop-motion scene animated in the style of a segment from a short by Czech animator Jan Vankmeyer called Dimensions of Dialogue, except with the characters of Rick Sanchez and Morty Smith from Adult Swim's biggest hit in recent years, Rick and Morty. The segment from the short that Adult Swim is spoofing is about 3 heads, the first made of food, the second made of kitchen utensils, and the third made of office supplies. The heads interact with each other by eating one another, ripping each other to shreds, crushing every little part of themselves to bits, and vomiting them back up until all 3 become soft and pliable enough to be molded into something like a human head. But really, all I see when I watch this short is just so much perfectly good food, kitchen utensils, and office supplies being wasted for the sake of art. Come on. That food could have made a nice little salad with which you could have eaten with the utensils, and after which you could have written a scathing review of said salad with that office material. Maybe I'm overthinking it a little. Just a little. Anyway, this Adult Swim advertisement seems to affectionately parody the segment from the short, except with Rick and Morty. They even reference Jan Vankmeyer himself, which I think is a nice touch. In fact, this whole ad is one big deep cut for Adult Swim, in my opinion, which I am all in favor of, and I hope they produce more deep cuts like this. And the whole advertisement is in Czech. At least, I'm assuming it's Czech. I hope it's Czech. I mean, I've seen a few Czech movies, but I think I've seen enough to have a firm enough grasp on what the language is supposed to sound like. Maybe they're speaking garbled nonsense that's meant to sound like Czech. I hope that's not the case. But anyway, I was watching this ad on Vimeo, which is a video sharing website that is kind of like YouTube, except it's truly and genuinely good and 10,000 million billion times better than YouTube in every way, shape, and form. I am not even joking. And I noticed something. I noticed that if you pause the video at just the right moment, the animator inserted little blink and you'll miss 'em Easter eggs. Here, let me show you. There! Did you see that? No? Let me slow it down for you. Okay, did you see it this time? No? Let me slow it down for you even more and point out what you're supposed to be looking for. Well, that certainly was all that in a bag of chips, wasn't it? I saw this ad a few times prior to this discovery, and I had never taken the time to notice that the animator hid humorous written text that they slid about the animation table. I mean, who would? The average layperson watching this ad, if indeed it aired on television at all, would probably be either a preteen or a college student, staying up extremely late at night, blissfully unaware of his surroundings, and the soul-crushing fact that by the time morning rolls around, he'll be back at school, unable to concentrate on whatever he needs to do because he's thinking about that girl who always sits near him, who kind of likes him, but not in the way that he hopes. All the while there's another equally attractive girl who does like him in the way that he hopes a girl would like him, but he doesn't see her like that, despite the fact that they always sit together, always laugh at one another's jokes, always listen to what one another has to say, never talk over each other, have a lot in common, and everyone around them says that they make a cute couple, and it won't be until he's in his mid-30s that he finally realizes what a fool he was to ignore her in favor of a girl who he barely knew thing one about, and who eventually got knocked up by the star football player and dumped when she told him she wanted to keep it. Meanwhile, the girl who he ignored has long since moved on with her life, went to a prestigious school where she became an arts major and is now an established painter. She makes a good living, great even. She even has enough money to provide for herself and her children should she choose to have any, but mostly she donates a fraction of her earnings to her retired parents. She doesn't want them to die in an old folks' home. She wants them to die in the house that she was born in. That's the kind of girl she is. That's the kind of girl he passed up. And the real kicker? He doesn't remember either of their names. Anyway, I think what the animator did here in this ad is very clever, and I wonder why more stop-motion animators don't do the same.